The final My Hero Academia chapter dropped, titled My Hero Academia. And man, this was such an emotional journey as we got an 8-year time skip showing the future of My Hero Academia. We got armored Deku and a potential sequel. So let's break down the final My Hero Academia chapter 430. Now the chapter begins with Deku and Shigaraki's words at the end of the war. You've already destroyed it. It will depend on what you guys do from now on. Deku repeats the same narration from the first ever chapter of the series, but changes things around. People are not born equal. Each of us has a different form or shape, but despite all of that, we still care for others. And these differences, both internal and external, allow us to run towards other people and search for a point of intersection. Koda, all grown up, attending UA, enters the teacher's room and says Big Bro Midoriya and corrects himself to saying Deku Sensei and asks where they should gather for the afternoon class. Now, I could be wrong, but if we do take a close look at the guy standing next to Koda, he kinda looks like the kid that got saved by the grandma from the last chapter due to those holes being around his mouth. They do kinda look similar. Continuing on, we then see that Deku is wearing a suit and writing in his notebook. This is the truth about society that I learned when I was 17. That day I heard everyone's voices, and that motivates me to this day. If caring for others is the first step to becoming a hero, then that day everyone was the greatest hero. We see a bunch of panels of everyone doing something over the years, such as Deku in the class taking an exam and having a second sports festival, All Might and Recovery Girl helping Gran Torino, Mirko getting new prosthetic limbs, Shoji and Koda shaking hands with other heteromorphs, Tokoyami and Hulks talking, Aizawa and President Mike in a graveyard, most likely mourning the death of Midnight because they never really got the downtime to really mourn for her after the Paranormal Liberation War. Endeavor with his sidekicks Hawks and Ray, Class A meeting Melissa Shield, Koda and Eri holding hands while Mandalay is looking proud. The League of Villains book that Spinner said he was going to write is being sold. Bakugo in rehab, Deku and Ochako together in the snow wearing scarves, and Compress reading Spinner's book. Deku continues saying, I was able to live a dream that should have been impossible. The story that began when my body moved before I could even think has come to an end alongside the embers of One for All. As Deku says this, we see panels showing the embers fading away little by little until it's completely gone. During our hero's graduation, we see that they follow UA's graduation tradition as Bakugo and Monoma blow up the stage right after Ida's speech. Deku then says, do you want to know why I'm still writing? Well, because there are still some pages left. Then we get the biggest time skip in the series. 8 years later, we see Dai's classroom, Dai being the kid who started his first day of school on the day of the Paranormal Liberation War. The teacher asks the students what they want to become, and one of them says he's going to be a hero. One wants to work in Hatsume's lab, one wants to become a great doctor like Dr. Yoshida, and one wants to join La Brava's company. One of the students sees that Dai wants to become a hero as well, and says that he'll never make it with his quirk, and that there are fewer villains now, and the number of heroes has stabilized. So only the strongest kids have a chance at becoming heroes. After school, Dai says that the people have changed. When he was a kid, growing up, everyone wanted to be like All Might, Endeavor, Genist, Deku, or Dynamite. He feels that he's the only one still acting like a child and feels insecure about it, which is why he goes to the All Might statue, the same All Might statue that gave him inspiration to start his first year at school 8 years ago. Switching over to Shoji, receiving the Imamura Award for his efforts resolving prejudice-based incidents in a peaceful way. He dedicates the award to all of the heteromorphs who marched to the hospital 8 years ago, and he says that he's only here today thanks to their will. Next, we see that the Ingenium, Froppy, Creati, and Uravity team is visiting schools all over the country, and that the quirk counseling expansion project created by Ochako is considered one of the most essential aspects of today's society. Ochako, still being inspired by Deku, now has Deku's mask around her neck in her updated Pro Hero costume, which is a nice detail as she's always throughout the series has taken some sort of inspiration from Deku and integrated that inspiration into her costume in some way. Also, I love how Toga's death led her to expand quirk counseling in the world to prevent villains like Toga from coming out of the system again. We then see a panel of Eri grown up with her friends from the music club, and Aizawa shows Deku a video of Bakugo screaming at a civilian for filming him too closely. Aizawa says that this will make him fall down the rankings, and Todoroki will shoot ahead of him. Shoto patrols day and night and treats his fans very well, and recently hardly anyone calls him Endeavor's son anymore. Deku says he'll pass Mount Lady, Kamui Woods, and maybe even Mirio in the rankings, and also Monoma and Honenuki's spots are great too in the rankings. Aizawa asks if Deku doesn't feel lonely, and he replies that during Fuwa's talk with Aizawa in chapter 425, he realized that he could use his knowledge and experiences to help other people, even without a quirk, and he thinks that's a cool way to live. Deku asks if Aizawa agrees, but Aizawa says that he should be stricter with the students. Nowadays, most students who enter UA think they're guaranteed to become heroes and make it big, so it's important to be strict so that they don't get too arrogant. Deku says that he's barely seen his friends since graduation, since their days off don't coincide with each other's. On his way home from work, he passes by this statue depicting Deku and Class 1A around each other, and he sees official Tokoyami products and Kirishima on TV. Some children run around shouting Kirishima's move, Unbreakable, but one of them stumbles and falls. Deku, without thinking, rushes over and catches the falling child, and sees that Dai tried to do the same thing, but he also fell in his attempt. Dai recognizes Deku and tells him his insecurities about the future and how he always comes to All Might's statue when he's feeling down. He tells Deku, "Can I become a hero like All Might and you?" Deku remembers what he asked All Might in the very first ever My Hero Academia chapter, smiles, and begins to analyze Dai's quirk in his usual muttery ways, and sees that it's a quirk that allows him to pull plates out of his hair. Dai is a little startled by the way Deku's muttering, but realizes that he's trying to help him. Deku thinks to himself, now it's my turn to give people dreams. Deku says that Dai will be fine because his body ran on its own to help that kid, and tells Dai, you can become a hero. We then see that the All Might statue is not just of All Might anymore, as they added several statues of people rooting for him, showing that what Deku did in the past really changed the aspect of every single thing when it came to hero society, as it's not only just the heroes saving everyone, but the people also cheering on the heroes that save everyone. They are also just as important. Deku tells Dai to do his best, and Deku thinks to himself, if I said I'm not a little lonely, I'd be lying. However, I can at least encourage other people, and that was the story of how we all became the greatest heroes. The chapter then does this fake out ending where All Might comes out of nowhere and smashes the end text with his own hand. All Might apologizes for the delay, and Deku says that he could have met him at the airport, but All Might wanted to give him a surprise gift. The data from his fight against All For One 8 years ago opened up many possibilities. All Might holds out a briefcase and says technology evolves just like quirks. Deku, shocked, says that this must have costed a lot of money, and All Might says it was developed by a friend of his from the US in Hatsume and financed by the Class A alumni, especially Bakugo. Take this to heart, kid. You've earned this power too, fair and square. Deku tears up and smiles. Bakugo extends his fully recovered hand and says, "Come on, Deku." We then see Hawks working and being informed about a landslide on a highway, to which he asks for some heroes to solve it. Deku in the air looks down and sees Shigaraki's ghost, letting us know that even 8 years later, Deku still hasn't forgotten about Shigaraki and what happened. The chapter then ends showing all of the Class A students, including Aoyama, as adults in their pro-hero costumes, with Deku stating, "This is the story of how we will continue to reach out," in his brand new armored suit, allowing him to continue being a hero, just as All Might once did during the All Out War, giving us Armored Deku, ending the series. Now, this chapter was amazing. It was extremely bittersweet in the way that Deku really never got One For All back or any sort of quirk back and remained quirkless for such a long time. After losing One For All, he pretty much got to watch as his friends all went on to become pro heroes without him, as he became a teacher at UA, growing lonely as the years went by, not being able to see any of his friends. It does almost feel like they forgot about Deku at one point, but the way it ended with All Might and all of Class A being there for Deku when he becomes Armored Deku was so beautiful, as it's clear that they all put in the effort over the years to get this made for Deku so they can all be heroes again together. Dai perfectly paralleled Deku from the first chapter of the series, as him wondering if he could become a hero like All Might or Deku was exactly the same question Deku asked All Might all those years ago. Deku clearly misses the life of a hero, but he was happy just being able to inspire someone else to become a hero, just like All Might had done for him all those years back. What I really love about this chapter the most is that the ending kind of hit a big reset on the series in a weird way, ending similar to how the series began, as throughout the entire chapter there are tons of references to the first ever My Hero Academia chapter. From Deku going on about people not being born equal, Deku longing to become a hero again, All Might telling Deku that he can be a hero again, to All Might giving Deku a power that allows Deku to achieve his dream of being a hero again. This didn't feel like an ending where the superhero hangs up the cape and is done. No, it felt like Deku's journey isn't over and there was more still left for him to do, with Armored Deku being this grand reset for him as a hero, moving on from One For All, but never forgetting about Shigaraki, as Shigaraki's ghost appearing at the end shows that what he went through with One For All For One, and Shigaraki is what made him who he is today and what led to a better society. This was probably the best ending I could have asked for when it came to My Hero Academia. Horikoshi stuck to his guns and kept Deku quirkless and gave Deku a new way of being a hero via an armored suit, and not taking anything away from what happened before, allowing the past users of One For All to actually rest for a change, just like Horikoshi will be now that My Hero Academia has officially ended. While simultaneously concluding and restarting Deku's journey, the ending is left open enough to where you can have tons of stories take place between that 8-year time skip, exploring Deku's final years with the embers of One For All, as well as after the time skip, exploring Armored Deku. As of right now, there is a lot of potential for a sequel and movies that can expand the world of My Hero Academia if My Hero Academia ends up continuing, which I do hope it does. For the series itself, personally, as someone who loves superheroes, the series meant a lot to me in high school. It inspired me to do so many things in my life that I wouldn't have had the courage of doing if it weren't for Horikoshi creating My Hero Academia, and of course Deku, who was the hero I felt I could relate to on such a deep level that I even named my son after him. I really love this series and its characters with all of my heart, and I am so thankful for My Hero Academia and for Horikoshi creating it. Thank you, Horikoshi. This series truly does mean the world to me. With that said, let me know your thoughts on the final My Hero Academia chapter. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button down below, and if you are new to the Kitoroki channel, then be sure to subscribe with notifications on so that you don't miss any My Hero Academia content, and I'll see you all in the next one.